Tell me a little bit about what you're doing.
Yes, yes. So I'm a senior at Emory.
Okay.
And so this summer I'm applying for this thing called Road Trip Nation.
This is Donna, who is your mom's.
Oh,
I mean, student.
teacher. Teacher, yeah.
It's so nice
It's
to meet
nice
you.
to
She
meet you, too.
absolutely loves taking classes here.
She's great. I love having her.
So I mean, it's like taken over our living room when
Oh,
I
it
came back
does.
for spring break.
Seriously,
I was like,
and
it's
then wait till
everywhere.
it takes over the bedroom, the kitchen, and the family room.
I know when she started out, she just brought some old junky yarn, and she's like, I'm not sure if I'm not buying anything till I know I want to knit. And now it's just
She's in love.
That's
loving
just
it,
great,
so,
and you get to be the recipient of all these wonderful things.
I know. I got a very nice scarf, and
I
love it.
Yeah,
Well,
the real
shop
soft
around
big
and-
button one.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
I wear it all
Yeah,
the
shop around,
time.
tell her what you
That's
want
right.
for
I met
her to
you
make
one
you
day.
next.
That's
I
right.
came
You
in
came
here-
shop. I
yes,
remember now.
yes.
Okay. Well, great.
Well, you have to take her around so she can shop and tell her mother what she wants next.
Okay, that sounds like a plan.
I know it. So anyway, Emory is doing now. What are you majoring in?
I'm majoring in history and global health.
Okay.
And so I'm applying for this thing called Road Trip Nation, which is a 6-week program where you are living in a RV with two other students who also just graduated from anywhere in the country, and you're setting up interviews with people from all over the country, and kind of getting a feel for, first of all, like things that you're interested in, and it's kind of just a learning experience, and then they film the whole thing. So it's kind of like a reality TV show.
There
but
was a show years ago that did something like this. One of the newscasters went on across America, and he would do interviews with different people, different businesses, and it sounds a lot like that in a way, you know?
yeah, it's through PBS,
Very
so
cool.
it's like
yeah.
Okay, yeah,
That'd
so-
be great.
Yeah,
This
so-
was like a weekly program, and I want to say it was probably back in the 60s or 70s. I mean, it was a long time ago. Yeah.
But so I'm very excited about it, but I'd love to get your story kind of about, first of all, like how you got into knitting.
Oh, well, I started knitting at, I think I learned at the Y when I was like 13 or 14. And I made a tennis sweater, red, white, and blue with cables. So I wore it. So I figured out how to knit. But anyway, after I went to college and everything, and I got married and had kids, I put it down. And I did not do it for 35 years. And about 10 years ago, I picked it up. A friend of mine came from Texas, and I don't know if you're familiar with these washcloths, these cotton dishcloths that you make and scrub with. They came and brought me one, and I went, I think I remember how to do this. And I got some chopsticks out of the drawer and sold yarn and started knitting. Well, that was it, and from there it came to here. And what happened here is that I had, I'd been knitting, but basically in the rectangle, scarves, blankets, anything that was square or rectangular, I would knit. I finally decided I need to get out of the rectangle. So I went to a knitting shop, and I probably invested about $1,000 in yarn and lessons, and really learned how to knit. Well, at that time, and this was 6 years ago, I mean, seriously, the closest yarn shop is 32 miles away, and that's from Cumming. The people in Dahlonega and Dawsonville, it was even longer. So I was thinking, we need to open a yarn shop here, and I had the opportunity. I had some money. I inherited some money, and it was just something I thought about doing. And this funny story, because this is really true. I was sitting in the hammock waiting to go to church, and I'm sitting there thinking, okay, I have got to start. I had been in an accident, so I hadn't been working, and my unemployment was running out, and I thought, I need to get a job where I can earn some money. But the accident involved my ankle and leg, and so I didn't really want to go back to what I was doing, which was selling food, and I was a manufacturer's rep, and
so you're on your
a lot
feet.
of traveling in the car, a lot of being on your feet and that sort of thing. And I thought, I was sitting there, what am I going to do? And this voice in my head, and I know it was God, it was as clear as if you're sitting here, it said, open your yarn shop. And I went, I really hadn't thought of it. And so my husband and I, he poo-poos everything we do, so, or I come up with, and I said, what do you think about me opening a yarn shop? He goes, I think it's a great idea. I went, oh my gosh, there's 2 in a row. So I sat down and I did a business plan, and I figured how much money I needed. I doubled it.
Yes.
Luckily, because of this inheritance, I had enough. And so we started to look. I called vendors. They came to my house, and I bought yarn. We I called real estate people. We looked at everything in this town. The last space I looked for was the place that we first opened, which was over on Lake Center Drive. It was smaller than this and kind of tucked behind. And the rent was right, the space was right, everything worked. Every door swung open, which just goes to show you when it's meant to be,
It's
everything moves within coordination to that, you know. And I started looking in September. I signed the lease in November. We built it in December, and we opened in January. And that's how fast
That is
it
really
went.
fast.
It really did. So naturally, you open the door and you go like, okay, I've just spent $45,000 on yarn. Will anybody walk in? And thank God they did. And they did for 3 years over there till we outgrew the space. And last March, we moved over here. But it's funny you mentioned sustainable, because that was one of the key things when I opened. I went after natural yarns. What we do different in the specialty shop that the big box stores don't do is we really go to wool and alpaca, llama, cotton, linen, bamboo, silk. You know, we sell those kind of yarns. They're a little pricier than what you can get because acrylic is not expensive. So that's pretty much, they'll get acrylic in wool blends or, you know, some of the blends, but not the quality that we have here. And we do sell some acrylic because we have people for 2 reasons. One, they're allergic and they cannot wear wool.
Oh.
You know, so we kind of send them to the linen and cotton side, but with that, that's not always warm enough. So by getting the, you know, acrylic and acrylic blends with different fibers, that tends to work for them. The other is that you've got moms, this baby yarn. The babies, they don't sometimes want to put wool on because of allergies. And then also, the moms aren't going to care for it. You can't throw wool into a washer and dryer. It'll come out
true.
like these hats. They'll be felted. So you know, that's other reasons that we do that. But we really take care in what we bring in here that it is workable. It's not so much the price. It's the fact, is it the best product?
Does it work?
Does
Okay.
it work? Yes, this is the best needle. And we bring in needles across the price board, but you know, some of it's expensive and some of it is less expensive, but we buy the best of those categories for our people. You know, if
Right.
you're starting out, obviously you want to be careful in what you invest. You don't let our new knitters buy the most expensive needles or the most expensive yarn.
Because if they're not going to.
Well, they're going to handle it a lot too, you know, and
Right.
who wants this beautiful piece of, you know, yarn, this alpaca that's going to get all frayed and nasty. Let's start out with a blend or with, you know, an acrylic and go from there. So the interesting thing is that, well, what I love about this business is, as they say, it's affordable, it's portable, and it's addictive. And so that is where I think our success lies in one area, you know, because
People
once
are passionate about it.
they're passionate about it. And the other thing is, coming from a sales background, this is number one, this is key, this is first. You treat your customers as if they are the only person in the world. And when you stop doing that, they stop coming in. And that's why our business has still, there's been a lot of yarn shops that do not treat customers that way. And customers are intimidated when they come in because they don't know how to do what you're doing. And it's a natural human reaction. I'm intimidated. And if you intimidate them more, they're just going to hate it. So
Right,
you
right.
don't want to do that. And we treat our customers as if they're, you know, family. And that's, you know, I think these customers here, they've been coming in here for 4 years at that table.
Really?
And they just keep taking lessons. So that's kind of it in a nutshell.
That's
I
awesome.
threw a lot at you. but
That's awesome. I love that you've like created a community around
we
knitting.
have. We really have. And we've grown. I mean, our web, you know, I mean, internet's list is over 16, almost 1,700 customers. And, you know, every now and then we'll get one that asks to be removed. I mean, we send a letter out every month and it goes out to them, you know. When I have a sale, I've given up on print.
Really?
Yeah, I have a billboard, which works great. But the print ad, nobody reads it. I send out an email, they come in, you know, so.
Oh, that's interesting marketing strategy. Yeah,
It is, because that doesn't work for everybody. I'm saying print is good for some people. It's not for us. It doesn't work for us. Our customers don't seem to, you know, go that route. So you have to know your base. and know what do they react to.
Right, right. That's, I mean, that's incredibly important when you're setting up a business.
I can send out the same sale and put it in the newspaper and get nobody, or send out one email and get 300 or 400 people coming in over a couple day period. So it just, that tells me where I need to be spending my money.
Right, right.
Hmm.
Now your customers, so you said you have people coming in who are like never touched a knitting needle before, and they come in and they just become addicted to it.
They do. They do. You know, there's very few. I can count 2 that said they didn't like knitting or crocheting and walk out,
Really?
and that's in 5 years.
Wow.
2. The rest, there you go from moderate to passionate.
Right, right.
Yeah. You know, so I mean, I have people on Thursday night. We limit the class to 4.
Mm-hmm.
This class is 6, sometimes 7. They pay 2 and 3 months in advance to keep their seat at that Thursday night class.
So they are coming.
I mean, they're really dedicated to it. So you really have to say, this is great, you know.
Right, right.
We have had customers one day, this is a funny story. I had written this pattern, the Grinch right here.
Oh, it's so cute.
And so I put it, well, you know, it was on our website and everything. One day I get a call from a lady in Minnesota, and she wants the Grinch pattern. And I said, well, okay, I can send it to you, you know, and it's blah, blah, and it's this much money, and, you know, just give me a credit card. And so, I mean, 10 minutes later, I get a call from a lady in Canada, and she wants the same thing. Then I get a call from a lady in Australia, and I'm going like, what is going on? So finally this lady from Florida calls and she wants it. And I go, wait a minute, I have got to ask you, where are you getting this pattern? She said, well, somebody put it on one of the knitting internet things because, you know, just the picture of it. Look what I got, and I got it from Fleece. Well, it started, and I mean, we've been all over the world with this. It's just so funny.
So you're not just in this community, the knitting community.
It's
around
spreading
the
out now,
world.
but that's taken time, obviously.
Right,
you know,
right.
And my goal was to be the local yarn shop here in Cumming, and it still is. I mean,
Right.
that's basically where our home is and our home base. So, you know.
Oh, that's so exciting. Now, has there been anything unexpected, like the most unexpected thing that's happened in setting up your business?
Well, let me think. Well, I think mostly the fact that it's still going.
Which is obviously
Every day I walk in and I go, oh my gosh, it's still, people are still coming in the door. I will never take that for granted, ever. It's just, it is an amazing thing. I think basically just the passion of some of these knitters and how they keep coming in and buying the yarn, you know, and just I think the one thing, there's a lot of women that come in here that are recovering from cancer, a lot of them from breast cancer, and they come in and it has just, and part of that is because part of them are sitting over at the hospital knitting and they're passing the word around, you know,
Right.
but what a comfort it has been. That's really been like at that table over there, there's 2 of them, one with breast cancer and one with blood cancer, just, you know, coming in here, and it's their camaraderie, you know,
Right,
that
right.
and the fact that they feel accepted. Plus, knitting and crocheting takes you to a different place. When you sit down to do it, you're not there anymore. You can forget your problems. You get involved in the pattern. You get involved in touching the yarns.
And this is
It takes you to a different place, and that's it. It's a calm and a peace. Not in the beginning. Now it's a little stressful. People
but
are
once
learning,
you
but
once you get into
But
it.
even them, they're just, and just this is cute. In summer, we have summer camp for kids, and it's a 1-week class, and we hold it for 2 weeks. And we start them at 7 or 8, and we get like 8 to 12-year-olds sitting there, and you can hear a pin drop. I mean, the concentration is so deep.
Oh.
We now have 2 little boys taking, they're 10 with their mom, and they are just intense about it, you know.
Really?
Mhm.
I mean,
And
it's
I'd like to see, that's the one disappointment I have, is I would like to see more boys getting involved in this because
Okay.
men actually invented knitting. I mean, back in the
Really?
11th century, I mean, that's what they did. They made fishing nets. They made the mail that they used on their, they had to come up with these knots. Fishermen.
Wow, I didn't even realize
Oh
that.
yeah, that's where it started. And then in like around the 16th, 17th century, women started doing some of the work because they had no means of making any income.
Right,
So they
right.
would do this. And over the centuries, it has just become more of a woman's plight because,
Right.
men went out and did other things. But I mean, you've got people like Stephen West and Jaron Flood who are making millions by designing patterns, and they're just wonderful designers. And men are absolutely enthralled when they come in here, and that's a Swift and a ball winder over there, near that you see that wooden rack that's
Oh
behind
yeah,
Ghana
right,
there.
right.
That's where we put the yarn. Well, they come in and they're just mesmerized. Little boys mesmerized because it's mechanical and it's in their DNA.
And they
There's
wanna
no
know
doubt
how it
about
works.
it. They have to know how it works, how to do it, what it does. Can I do it? And I would like to see. That's the one disappointment that there's not as many men because I know they're interested in their heart. They are. My husband is. The men that come in with the women are. But they won't do it because they think it's feminine.
Somehow, right.
And it's so
Wow.
silly
Right,
because it's so much fun,
Right, right.
and they're
like you're-
cheating themselves.
And it's a creative way to.
At night they could be making an Afghan for Pete's sakes instead
Right.
of just sitting there.
Right. Right, right. Well, speaking of, so even though this is kind of a female-dominated field, do you have any advice for women who want to take their creative passion and turn it into a business?
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. Well, for one thing, now I will say this. Knitting large objects is not something that you can really make a lot of money at because of the time involved. So your dollar per hour diminishes. And the second thing that's bad about that is that people don't appreciate the hand knit aspect of it. A scarf is a scarf to them, and they'll go to Walmart and buy one for $3.98, or they can spend $35 on one and make one here. So they weigh that, but once you understand the handmade aspect of it and the quality of the yarn that you're getting, then it makes a difference. And that's obviously we have a good deal of people who understand that. Getting back to your little business, I think anything you've seen Etsy and what the women put on there. I mean, they're so darn clever, whether it's with paper or with yarn or with fabric or just gluing things together. They manage to do a little living. I've always said there's always something you could do out of the house that can
Right.
turn it into an industry. In fact, I was watching Fox yesterday, and this girl came on. She is married to, I can't remember who she was married to, somebody famous, but she has come out with a candle that she makes in her kitchen, and she's selling it to all the Hallmark stores now. I mean, it's something where you take an idea and can grow with it,
Right.
And I just think there's a way to do this. Now, there's people out there that are making gloves and hats and scarves and things like this that they're selling. I think the more creative you are with what it is you're doing, the better your chances are of selling it to the public.
Right.
But
That's
you
good.
certainly can take it on consignment, and you look at the beading and the jewelry that people are doing.
Oh, I mean, it's also incredible.
I
pieces.
said, who would buy beads? This was me 5 years ago. I said, this is never going to work. What do I know? Obviously not beads.
But yeah, when people take like a little niche and are able to turn it into something, I think it's really
great.
empowering.
It absolutely is, and there's always something you can do. It's a matter, again, I will say everything comes down to filing. It all comes down to filing. Whatever you do, you have to do this,
Right,
And
right.
it doesn't matter what the industry is, but it comes down to a business plan. You really have got to make a plan. It's not something you can just jump into, but you've got to decide how much you're going to spend on supplies and how much, can you do in marketing, and where is this? Who's your base?
That's true.
Who's
Yeah.
your base? When I did that, I studied coming. I realized there were 90-some thousand people in here. The average income was 70 to 90,000. There was money to be spent here. So this is a hobby. So it's not a necessity. If I was selling bread, that would be a different category.
Right. But this is
because you have to eat it. But this is just definitely a hobby, and people have got to be able to afford to do that. So you need to be in the community that you need to be at.
Right, right. No, I mean, I think that's really solid advice because I know a lot of people my age have these creative passions,
And you
then,
do, yeah. But
and
you've got to be able to make it work for you, you know. And the only way you can do that is to put that business plan together. Who, number one, who's your customer? How you going to get it to them? And do they need it? You know, how do you make them need it? How do you make them want it, even if they don't need it?
that's true. That's true. So that's how you attract people who may not seem like the typical knitters
Exactly.
into.
Exactly. We go after, okay, we'll pursue Girl Scout troops. We will pursue, I mean, I've always wanted to go to the firefighters because they sit around the firehouse a lot, you know, but I haven't had the opportunity to do that. I think they'd have a blast doing it.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think they'd be a fun group to work with. But one thing we're doing right now, and I did want to mention this, we're just getting started with it. I go to First Redeemer Church, which is down on 141.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, but we're doing something, it's more of a community effort, not so much, you know, this. But we put together a sewing and knitting ministry. And where I'm coming from the knitting end of it, is that I'd really like to focus on 3 particular groups. One is the homeless. We can do hats and scarves and mitts for them. Most of them freeze in the wintertime. They die by freezing. They're addicted. They don't get up. They get wet. They freeze and they die. And so I really think to go along with the food ministry that goes with these people, I think that's one aspect. Another one, and I'm pursuing this. I've got to find an outlet for it. I know Henry County is doing it. When the police have to go into abusive homes and remove children, for us to have blankets for them to be wrapped in, and they get to keep the blanket or the quilt. It's really comforting, you know. So that could be both sewing, knitting, crocheting. Then the third aspect is the assisted living homes. There's a lot of people doing prayer shawls for people with cancer and people, you know, in hospice. But the assisted living is an ongoing daily lifestyle for people, and there's so many that are abandoned there by their families or don't get visited very often. So does anybody bring them a lap robe or,
Right, the things
an
that they would
Afghan?
really like to give
Something
them
that,
comfort.
well, and keep them warm. So those are my 3 focuses. And again, getting back to that business aspect, you've got to narrow it down to a focus.
Right,
And
right.
you can always grow from there, but you've got to have a focus. You can't just say, well, anybody.
Right,
Unless
right.
you sell cell phones.
Then everyone needs them. But no, I mean that's true because you want to be able to bring your business and make sure that it's helping other people and
Well,
helping the community.
you got to give back. And so how do we give back? Well, I feel like first of all we give back to the comfort that we offer the women that come in here that are suffering, that are going through a lot of. We have a lot of that. So we're very open to that and conscious of that. But then you've got to walk outside your walls and see how can I make a difference out there. And this is not for marketing or for money. This
Right.
is to give back to the community. How could we possibly do something that you can't do it all? I can only do so much. I only have so much time. But what I am offering to, for example, the women who want to knit for these things, I'm offering them 20% off of our yarn for their project. I'm offering them free yarn as my knitters, the group here, bring their stash in and say, I can't deal with this yarn anymore. Here, will you
They can use that for the
they can. Then
outreach
I'll give
program.
that for free to them. So we'll be doing, and then we are going to. Some of my customers will work with this, but we will teach once a month people how to knit and crochet for free 1 night a month.
Okay.
And so I feel those 3 things we can give from the shop. The other, we've got to, try and get the community involved in what we're doing to get it back out there. So
Right.
we're just in the beginning stages of that, so I'm still thinking it all through.
Right, right. But that's exciting that
Yeah.
that's the next
Next
venture
thing.
for your business.
Exactly. And then ultimately, and we're working on this now, and I'm hoping by next year, if not sooner, we're up and running. We're probably going to open up an e-store, so where we'll be
okay.
on the internet. Because we have days here that there is very little business that comes in. But if we were on the internet, we would have business every day. So that's like the next venture and the next step in here. Not a big secret. It's just a matter of you know, how we're going to put our store together that looks better than the other e-stores that are out there.
Right.
And again, it's just like opening a shop. Look, there's 29, well, 28 now, yarn shops in Atlanta. Why do people come here?
Because
So-
you're offering a a better sense of community.
Hopefully, yeah. And some of it is just access, that we're closer, and we're the closest one. But we get people from Buckhead and you know, really Marietta, you know, they come up this way specifically to see us. So that's good. Not a lot, but we get them.
Right.
So, you know, it's out there, so people are coming, and you know, I've got people that come every week from Cobb County to say, I won't go over there, this is where I want to be. Not that there's anything wrong, they just have chosen this.
Right.
you know?
And
So-
you're offering
What they don't
someone-
get elsewhere.
Yeah.
And that's what our e-store would do, the same, you know, hopefully.
Right.
So that's what we're trying to create.
Wow, you have so many exciting things on
I
the
know.
horizon.
Well, it is. And I mean, you know, I'll probably just drop dead at the front door one day, but I'll be doing this.
But it's what you love and you're passionate.
What are you going to do, sit at home, you know?
Oh, well, thank you so much. I mean,
You're welcome.
I've learned so much just
Good.
because, someone who's possibly interested in business and definitely have a creative side.
Yeah, take these basic principles, and these are things that, yes, the books tell you, but they don't explain it in such a simplified term that really it's not that hard. Identify your customer, you know, how you're going to get it to them, do the business plan, double the money that you're going to put in, because I promise you, you'll be short if you don't.
Right.
You will. If you think it's going to take $50,000, then get $100,000. If you think it's going to take $10, get $20. But, you know, whatever it is and wherever you start, you know, double it.
Double.
Seriously, that gives you the cush that you need to have.
Wonderful.
That's not to say that people haven't made it on a dime, but, you know.
Right, but it's
it can
better
happen,
to be
but,
safe.
But you go broke a lot of times. You know, I started probably 5 businesses that I either went broke or closed up before I did this, because I realized that I needed more capital. So, and especially in something like this where you have inventory.
Oh, yeah.
Now, my idea of a really good idea is what the nail salons and the hair salons do. See, they offer a service, but the problem with the service, there's no sales tax involved. But the problem with the service is that it's only you that can make the, you know, that can earn the money.
Oh,
You
okay.
see, so you only
Yeah.
have so many hours, so much energy. If you get sick, you're down, you're out, you know. But a service business is good because you don't have to stock a store.
Okay.
I see this. I mean, we have, you know,
mean, you have so
$140,000 worth of inventory in here that is, you know, over time accumulated.
Right.
But you know, I have to pay personal property tax at the end of the year on this, what I don't sell. So, you know, there's a whole lot of things in inventory that you don't have the problem with the service business. So keep that in mind.
And you
too.
don't think about that as
I mean, if you're,
payment.
like I say, if you're doing hair or nails, or if you're a doctor, or, you know, you don't have to pay sales tax on that because you're providing this service.
right.
But there's other issues. I mean, obviously, you still need overhead and things like that. But
True. And I guess one last question as I'm looking around, I'm realizing, so where the specialty yarns, where do you get your inventory from?
I have reps that come to visit,
Okay.
you know, that come on sales calls 4 or 5 times a year, and they bring the yarns in. In the meantime, I can also look and see what's out there if I don't have that particular rep, and you know, and get that. But they usually come. They come from all over the world. You know, they come from Australia and from New Zealand, from London, from Turkey, Romania, China. They come from everywhere. But what happens is that they come into the United States to a distributor.
Okay.
Now that just, I can't order. I mean, I could order direct from China, but it would be a really big hassle, and I'd have to take 2,000 units of whatever, you know,
Right.
and I can't use all that. But a distributor can. So he takes 2,000 units of that yarn, and he sells it to 5,000 people out here. You see what I'm saying? So it comes in, and so the people I buy from are the distributors, vendors, and then they sell it to all the different stores like that. So it comes from the United States. Sometimes there's distributors in Canada that are the same yarns, but you have to go to Canada to get the yarn from that distributor, whereas the same yarn is down here in New York that they sell to the United States. So that's
Okay.
between the distributors.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. But
Yeah, they go once a year to these countries or twice a year, and they see the yarns, they buy the yarns, they put it together. That doesn't mean they have every yarn in the world. You know, a lot of times, even, for example, Noro, which is the Japanese line right here, they are in Japan, obviously. The distributor here in the United States that represents them doesn't buy every yarn that they have.
okay.
So sometimes
have
I can't get it. So sometimes these books come out, whereas Europe will buy it, and that book goes to Europe as well. So Europe can get the yarn, but U.S. doesn't get the yarn because that distributor didn't buy it. So that's how
Okay.
all that kind of works.
So I guess you kind of have to, as the distributor, know the trends. And
You do, and
what
that's a
people
big
like.
job for them because they buy some boners too, you know, and it's just like I do occasionally. Oh, it's going to be hot, and then it's sitting on the
No
shelf
one-
3 years later. And that's why we have the $3 laying down there.
Because sometimes you get it wrong.
I bought too much of it. It was good when it was here, but it's dead now. And so, okay, people, come on. We're, you know, these are great Christmas presents. $3. Yeah.
Yeah, what is better? All right. Well, thank you so
You're
much
so
for your
welcome.
time. I
Let
really
me give you a
appreciate-
card too.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah, I would appreciate
Good.
that.